Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. My dear students, in today's lecture we are going to see sources of borrowed capital, that is bonds. See, we are already done with debentures, we are done with acceptance of deposits. Now coming to the third one, bonds. In this lecture we are going to see meaning, definition and features of bonds. See, with bonds, there are 6 important points which you are supposed to remember. That is what, if the question has been asked in the exam, you are supposed to write it in the meaning. The very first one is bond is a debt security. Now, when I say it's a debt security, that means it's a liability which a company is supposed to repay. Okay? Debt security, the word itself says liability security, that means which will be paid after certain period of time. So yes, bond is a debt security. Second point you have got as it is a formal contract to repay borrowed money with interest. Now we have already seen it's a debt security, that means it's a borrowed capital. Now it says that it's a formal contract to repay borrowed money, to repay borrowed capital along with the interest. Now what do you mean by the word formal contract? That means the issuer company, the company who's who's issuing bonds, and the receiver, that is the bondholder, will have a contract. That is the contract between the company and the bondholder. It's there in writing. Why it's there in writing? Just because to be a proof that the issuer has invested the money and the company is supposed to repay back. Coming to the third point, bond is a loan. As we have seen in the first point only, when you say a debt security, that means its company is going to repay back. If it's going to repay back, that means it's a loan, it's a liability to the company. So yes, the 3 important points: bond is a debt security. Second, it's a formal contract to repay borrowed money along with the interest. Third you have got is bond is a loan. Okay. Fourth point, now the moment you say it's a loan, that means the investor will be the creditor to the company. Is it? See, the holder of bond is a lender to the institution. If I am a bondholder, that means I have given certain amount to the institution. See, the holder of bond is a lender to the institution. He is a creditor of a company. So can I say the bondholders are the creditors of the company? Yes. Fifth point you have got as the holder of bond gets fixed rate of interest. This is very important. Return on investment. If I have invested on bonds, so yes, I will be getting fixed rate of interest. And the last point, all bonds have maturity date. This is very important. See, pay attention. All bonds have maturity date and is paid in cash at certain date in future. Now, when I say maturity date, what is maturity date? A future date on which the company is going to repay the principal amount along with the interest. Okay. All bonds have maturity date. That means after certain period of time at a fixed date, company is going to repay the amount, and it is paid in cash at certain date in future is nothing but the maturity date. So these are the 6 important points which you are supposed to write it in the meaning, or I can say in the introduction part if the question is there in the paper. Now coming to the definition, say here, according to Webster's dictionary, a bond is an interest bearing certificate. Now what is bond? When you give, when you invest in the bond, the company gives you a certificate. That certificate is nothing but an interest bearing certificate. If you will show the certificate, you will be getting the interest. A bond is an interest bearing certificate issued by the government or business firm. Now who can issue bonds? government can issue bonds or any of the business firms can issue bonds. So yes, a bond is an interest bearing certificate, first point, issued by the government or business firm promising to pay the holder. Okay, that certificate is nothing but a promise. It promises to pay the holder a specific sum at a specified date. This specified date is nothing but the maturity date. So now you see here, a bond is an interest bearing certificate issued by the government or business firm promising to pay the holder, bondholder, a specific sum at a specified date. Thus, a company borrows money and issues bonds. Whenever there is a need of additional capital, company may borrow money in the form of bonds. So see, thus a company borrows money and issues bonds as an evidence of debt. It's an evidence of debt. It's a proof. It's a liability. It's a proof of a liability. Okay. Now interest is payable on bonds. We have already seen at fixed interval or on maturity of bonds. At fixed interval, you can say every year, every 2 years, or the interest could be paid all together on the maturity date when the bond is going to be matured. That is, it will be paid off. So this is a definition for the bonds. Now, on the basis of this meaning and definition, there are 4 features given in the textbook which we are going to see now. The very first one is nature of finance. Very important. Now see, it's a debt finance. We have already seen the very first point. Debt finance, debt security. It's a debt finance. It provides long-term finance. Okay, you are supposed to remember this thing. It provides long-term finance. The bonds can be issued for longer period, that is 5 years, 10 years, 25 years or 50 years. Okay. The second point you have got as status of bondholder. If we say debt security, we have already seen bondholders are the creditors of the company. So what is the status? The bondholders are creditors of the company. Since they are creditors and non-owners, they are not entitled to participate in general meeting. They are not the owners of the company, so they are not going to participate in any of the general meetings of the company. When they are not participating only in the general meeting, they have no voting right and hence no participation in the management. See, we have seen the equity shareholders. Equity shareholders are the owners of the company. So yes, they have got all the rights to participate in the management of the company. But the bondholders, they have got no right to participate in the general meeting as well as in the management of the company. So yes, status of bondholder, simply you can say that bondholders are the creditors of the company, and then these 2 points. Coming to the third one you have got is return on bonds. We have already seen what is the return on bonds. It's interest. Interest at fixed rate. See, the bondholder gets a fixed rate of interest, the return on investment. Okay. It is payable at regular interval. Now you can see here, end of each period, maybe at the end of every year, regular period you will be getting the interest, or on the maturity of bond. What is regular interval? Something that happens at regular time span. You can say every year, every 2 years, every 6 months. Okay. So this is known as regular interval or on maturity date. Maturity date, remember, a future date when the company is going to repay the principal amount, that is the bond amount. And coming to the last point is repayment. Now see here, it's very important. Bonds have specific maturity date, a fixed maturity date on which the principal amount is repaid. See, the duration and the maturity date, that is the time period and the date is always there, that is it's mentioned on that bond certificate. Okay, so repayment, company is going to repay in a after certain period of time at the maturity date, and that repayment would be the principal amount. Done. So these are the 4 features regarding bonds. See, there is an example here. This is a bond certificate. See, it's a treasury bond of 1967 to 1972, right? So see, all the dates, the issue date, the maturity date, everything would be mentioned on that bond certificate. Okay, there would be only one question, that is state the features of bond. So when this question would be asked, you are supposed to write the meaning along with the definition and then 4 features. That's all for today, class. Thank you.